All right, so without any further ado, let's start this thing. Where do I want to start with this video right here? All right, actually, we're going to start with some scriptures. Can we go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2, please? Can everybody see the screen? Can you guys see what I'm sharing or no?
No.
No.
Okay, all right. Good thing I asked. Let's see. How about now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Okay, Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2, and give me verse 1, please, Brother Chris.
Okay, this is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2 and verse number 1. For the ungodly said, reasoning with themselves, but not aright. Our life is short and tedious, and in the death of a man there is no remedy. Neither was there any man known to have returned from the grave.
So stop right there. The Most High says the ungodly, right, is saying these things, right? They're reasoning with themselves, which means that's their thoughts. You understand? So when they sit down and they meditate, these are the answers they come up with, right? So what you're about to see as Brother Chris reads here is the mind of Esau, the mindset Esau has in the building of his kingdom, right? And you're gonna start to see some sinister things that will come out as we study the Juneteenth holiday and what it all means, right? So read on. Sorry, so give me jump to verse 5 and then read to verse 11.
Okay. This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2 and verse number 5. For our time is a very shadow that passes away, and after our end there is no returning, for it is fast sealed, so that no man cometh again.
All right.
Come on, therefore, let us enjoy the good things that are present, and let us speedily use the creatures like as in youth.
Okay, so stop right there. The Esau said to himself, listen, man, our time on earth is a shadow that pass away. And after our end, there's no returning. Nobody comes back. That's the end of it, right? Um, uh, uh, so because we have a short time on earth and nobody's coming back, let's use the creatures, meaning the human beings. Let's use people like we used to use them when we were young. And we all know when we were young, we were troublesome. We don't care about nobody's feelings, nothing like that. We just do as we please. Esau, in his so-called maturity, as he reasoned with himself, said, yo, let's just use everyone. That's the answers that the man came up with. Read on.
Verse number 7. Let us fill ourselves with costly wine and ointments, and let no flower of the spring pass by us.
Right.
Let us crown ourselves with rosebuds before they be withered. Let none of us go without his part of our voluptuousness. Let us leave tokens of our joyfulness in every place, for this is our portion, and our lot is this.
Right.
Let us oppress the poor, righteous man. Let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the aged.
Stop right there. That's what I really wanted to get to. Read that again, verse 10.
Let us oppress the poor, righteous man.
Mm-hmm.
Let us not spare the widow.
Right.
Nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the aged.
You see that? You see Esau mindset? Let's oppress the poor righteous man. That's his whole mindset, right? Let's not spare the widow. When she don't have a head, when she don't have a man in the house, don't spare her. Take her for all she's worth, right? Let's not reverence the ancient gray hairs of the age, right? In fact, let us make aging a thing that people should fear. Let's come up with phrases like forever young, right? Let's be obsessed with youth, right? Go ahead.
Verse number 11. Let our strength be the law of justice.
This is the other piece.
For that
Let
which is
our
feeble.
strength, hold on, let our strength be the law of justice. Esau sat and reasoned and said, let our strength be the law of justice. The strength of Israel is the law of righteousness. That is the strength of Israel, right? That's Psalm 147, verse 19 to 20, where he shows his law unto Jacob, his statutes and judgments unto Israel. He has not dealt so with any other nation, right? And he also says in another place that the law, statutes, and commandments are wisdom among the nations, right? That's our strength. But Esau's strength, right? And you will see the hypocrisy of this as we study Juneteenth. Esau's strength is the law of justice, right? What he called democracy, but it's actually demonocracy. You understand what I'm saying? Read that. Finish at 11.
Verse number 11. Let our strength be the law of justice. For that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth.
You see that? So if you can't fend for yourself, you're worthless. So Esau said he's gonna take that law of justice and use that to oppress the poor righteous man and to oppress the widow, right? And to disrespect the aged, right? And we keep seeing the same cycle happening over and over and over again, right? And Juneteenth is a huge example of how this man has used the law of justice to straight up destroy Israel, you know. And we're gonna go into it. So, what is Juneteenth and why is it detrimental to the so-called Negro? We'll use this video I'm about to show to get into it. So, let's start watching this video, and I'll be stopping the video, like, at certain points, just to break down, to get into the scriptures basically, and break down things and that sort of thing. So let me know if everyone can see and hear the video okay.
General Order Number 3, the Juneteenth Order.
The people of Texas are informed that, in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves.
Can everybody hear the video and see it?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between an employer and hired labor.
You can imagine the burden lifted from these people, the men, the women, the children that knew that they were chattel, property, and now understanding that they were free. But the question that was lingering was, what did freedom look like?
The slaves built this country.
They had a sense of who they were. They very quickly built a sense of community.
To what degree have we actually achieved the absolute freedom that Juneteenth promised?
Ignoring these painful histories doesn't mean that they don't still influence us.
We stand on the shoulders of those that came before us, and we need to honor their memory by telling their story.
Juneteenth, 1865 to 2021.
Galveston, Texas, a place known for tourism and quick getaways. But it's the history which happened here that impacts us all today.
African slaves were brought here on ships in the 1800s. But even after the slave trade ended, slavery here did not.
It was 1865, June 19th, now known as Juneteenth, when Union soldiers arrived and told slaves they were free.
It came 2 years after President Abraham Lincoln announced slavery had ended in the United States.
All right, did y'all catch that? Did y'all catch that? Juneteenth, right? Celebrated June 19th, 1865. The announcement from this general, which if I remember correctly, his name was General Gordon Granger. The announcement came 2 years after the northern states, the Union, learned that they were free, right? So the Emancipation Proclamation goes out, in January 1863, and our people don't hear about it till 2 years have passed in the South of America, and the southern states of America, Texas and a bunch of other states, right? But yet we are celebrating this like it's something good, man. How is it a good thing that you hear about your so-called freedom 2 full years after it's been declared? What is to celebrate in that, right? And the furthermore, this Emancipation Proclamation, which was given in January of 1863, didn't even abolish slavery. I don't know if everyone knew that. It merely changed slavery. It was not abolished, right? And let's look at how slavery was changed rather than abolished, right? So first of all, I want to show this link. Over here, right? Right here, I want to read this footnote. It said slaves had been part of the engine of war for the Confederacy. Okay, what is the Confederacy? The Confederacy was an unrecognized breakaway Confederate republic in southern United States. So basically, the southern states in the United States formed their own republic, okay, but it wasn't recognized by the other states that called themselves the Union. Okay, they said it existed from February 8th, 1861 to May 9th, 1865. That's how long the Confederacy lasted, right? The Confederacy comprised U.S. states that declared secession, meaning they broke away from the rest of the states and warred, right? That's what the American Civil War was about. They warred against the United States during what? The American Civil War. These are the states: South Carolina, Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, Texas, Virginia, Arkansas, Tennessee, and North Carolina. Okay, so that's what this Confederacy was. So slaves had been part of the engine of war for the Confederacy. So these states that broke apart from the United States were using slaves as their engine of war. What does that mean? It says here they produced and prepared food, they sewed uniforms, they repaired railways, they worked on farms and in factories. They worked in shipping yards and mines, they built fortifications for the war. and served as hospital workers and common laborers. News of the proclamation spread rapidly by word of mouth, arousing hopes of freedom, all right, creating general confusion. This is what I want you to note. When Abraham Lincoln gave the Emancipation Proclamation, it put it pulled the rug from under the Confederacy that were trying to break away from them in the South, because they were using slaves to basically keep their war effort going. So when they initiated the Emancipation Proclamation, it wasn't about freeing no black people, man. It was about crippling the Confederacy, because the Confederacy was using slaves. You understand what I'm saying? As their engine of war. This is in their own words, right? It said it created general confusion. You see that? And encouraging thousands to do what? Escape to Union lines. So they were trying to pull the rug from under the Confederacy that broke away from the Northern United States by freeing the slaves. That's what they were trying to do, right? And we have the source here, right? We can, we can go to it, right? Where is it? Boom, boom. A second. Right here, right? Slaves had been part of the engine of war, etc., etc., right? And we got the book quoted and everything, all right? So later on in that same section, under the immediate impact, it talks about here in footnote 4, it says that freeing the slaves was a war measure. This one soldier called it a war measure, and he said he didn't see the immediate benefit of it, right? Let me read here. It says, but still, as a war measure, I don't see the immediate benefit of it. Of what? Freeing the slaves. As slaves are short of being free at any rate, with or without an Emancipation Act. Okay? Right? So, one second here. To give you a little context, says, on the other hand, Robert Goldshaw, right? This guy here, wrote to his mother on September 25th, 1862. So, the Proclamation of Emancipation has come at last, or rather, its forerunner. He says it's the forerunner because it was signed into law in December, not January. I suppose you all are very much excited about it. For my part, I can't see what practical good it can do now. Wherever our army has been, there remain no slaves. Which army is he talking about? This Union Army, right? So they're abolishing slavery wherever they go, right? And even that has a caveat with it, but we'll get into that. And the proclamation will not free them where we don't go. What? The proclamation will not free them where we don't go. So when the Emancipation Proclamation was given, all slaves were not free, man. That's a lie. You understand? The union had to be in charge of these particular places, and also they had to have that place not designated as an exception, because they had places that they designated as exceptions to the Emancipation Proclamation, right? In their own union in the North. So you could have been in the North, the Emancipation Proclamation passed, and you're still a slave because you're in a state that they designated as a state that was exempt from the Emancipation Proclamation. I mean, what kind of freedom is that? Is that freedom? You know? Reading on this guy said, 10 days later, he wrote again, don't imagine from what I said in my last that I thought Mr. Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation not right, but still, as a war measure, I don't see the immediate benefit, as the slaves are sure of being free at any rate, with or without an Emancipation Act, right? Is that all I wanted on that? 1 second. Let's see. Let's look real quick at the Emancipation Proclamation. Which portion do I want to look at here? Implementation. This is what I was talking about. The implementation of the Emancipation Proclamation, which this page is about. This page is about the Emancipation Proclamation here. The proclamation was issued in a preliminary version and a final version. The former issued, meaning the preliminary version, issued on September 22nd, 1862. It was a preliminary announcement outlining the intent of the latter, all right, which took effect 100 days later on January the 1st, 1863, all right, during the second year of the Civil War. The preliminary Emancipation Proclamation was Abraham Lincoln's declaration that all slaves would be permanently freed. Watch this, in all areas of the Confederacy that was still in rebellion on January 1st, 1863. So Abraham Lincoln declared all slaves would be permanently free, where? In all areas of the Confederacy, which is what? The South states, these states right here. So what about all these other states? We were still slaves in those states, right? And we want, man, let me read on. In all areas of the Confederacy that were what? Still in rebellion, right? The 10 affected states were individually named in the final Emancipation Proclamation, and we went through that already. Watch this. Not included were Union slave states. So the Union in the North had their own slave states, brothers and sisters. Okay? So in Maryland, you were not free. Delaware, right? Missouri, Kentucky, right? Also not named was Tennessee, in which a Union-controlled military government had already been set up. So the North with Abraham Lincoln, they already set up, but they exempt the place from the Emancipation Proclamation. Now I wonder if that's what they're teaching in the school. I wonder if that's what they're telling our brothers and sisters, right? Or if they're just telling them Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves on January 1st, 1863, man. You know? So let's see. It says specific exemptions were stated for areas also under Union control on January 1st, 1863. Namely, 48 counties that would soon become what? West Virginia. 7 other named counties of Virginia, including Berkeley, Hampshire, which was soon added to West Virginia, New Orleans, and 13 named parishes nearby. Union-occupied areas of the Confederate States where the proclamation was put into immediate effect by local commanders included these places, okay? Mississippi, Virginia, and so on, all right? So this is where it was immediately enforced, but in large portions of the country, you were still a slave, right? I mean, is this cause for celebration, right? Or is it a tragic moment in our history showing just how much we were hated and how much Esau want to keep the boot on our neck. Well, it shows how much we're hated, right? And let's prove that with the scriptures. Let's go to Jeremiah 50. Give me Jeremiah 50, bro.
What verse?
33.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, and verse number 33. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captive held them fast. They refused to let them go.
Yeah, that's all I want. So the Most High say, everyone that took us, by the way, he said the north and the south kingdom, we were oppressed together, right? Which lines up perfectly with Deuteronomy 28, where he told the whole nation they were going into Egypt on ships. You know, and if you read chapter 27, everyone was there. 6 tribes on one mountain, 6 tribes on the next mountain. And he said, here's the blessing if you keep the commandments, and if you don't keep the commandments, the curse is all these things going to happen to you, including you being taken into slavery on ships. Right? And he backs it up here and says, we were oppressed together. Right? Now, it said all the people that took us captive refused to let us go. And it was no different here in the United States. Now we're in Canada, but basically this is the United States, right? Because anything the US says do, Canada does. Canada is the US little sister. You know, they bow down and do whatever the US want, right? Okay. So all that held us captive refused to let us go. When you read the Emancipation Proclamation, you realize, yeah, they refused to let us go. You know, we're gonna go into the 13th Amendment in a second, and you're gonna see more evidence that they refused to let us go. Slavery was not abolished. Slavery was changed. That's it. They came up with a more clever way to enslave our people. A worse way. Mental slavery. You know? Give me Deuteronomy 28. Right? And give me 59. And then go to 63 and read to the end.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, and verse number 59. Then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of the seed, even great plagues, and the long continuance and sore sickness, and of long continuance. Sorry.
That's fine. I got it. So it says, Yahweh will make your plagues wonderful, and the plagues of your children, right? Great plagues, right? Of long continuance. How long we been in slavery here, man? Right? It's only now some of us wake up and are free mentally, but we still under tribute. We're still in the land of our captivity, according to the book of Baruch, the 3rd chapter, right? Right? The Most High says they're gonna be of long continuances. You're gonna have sore sicknesses, and they're gonna be of long continuance, which means it's gonna last a long, long, long time. Right? It's even lasting up until today. Now go down to 63.
Verse number 63. And it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoice over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught.
Mm-hmm.
And ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it.
Right.
And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other.
Right.
And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
So stop right there. It said, listen, man, The Most High is gonna pluck you off the land, right? For sinning against him. If we go up to verse 15, we know this talking to Israel, right? Verse 1 and then verse 15. And we know it's talking about the curses that are upon Israel, right? And the Most High said he's gonna scatter the Israelites, all 12 tribes, among all people. So whoever the Israelites are, you gotta find them among all people from the east to the west, from the north to the south. We have to be among all people. You understand? And then he says, where is it? I will scatter thee among all people, and there we're gonna serve other gods, wood and stone, right? And that's Christianity and the Muslim religion, right? Which are the major religions, which are like all our people are basically under one or the other, you know. So all these things give you clues as to who the Israelites are, right? And I keep saying this, I'm gonna hammer it home. If the so-called natives and Hispanics are Israelites, I should be able to find them in Germany. I should be able to find them in the Philippines. I should be able to find them in India. I should be able to find them in Australia. I should be able to find them in Arabia. But guess what? They're not there. But the Negro is everywhere on the planet as a slave, even in China, you know? Anyway, uh, uh, continue on, brother.
Verse number 65. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease.
What?
Neither shall
amongst
these nations shalt thou find no ease.
Right.
Neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest.
Right.
But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind.
So stop right there. You see what the Most High said? So you're gonna think, hey, I'm emancipated, I'm free, but you're not gonna get no ease. The very proclamation that was said still kept you in slavery. There were exceptions. You were still a slave. Later on, you're gonna learn, even when you ran away to the Union, you were still considered a slave. You know, this lady gonna bring it out from the documentary that we're watching, right? This older lady, right? So no ease for you, and we're gonna see all the things that happened after so-called emancipation, where the boot of Esau was still on the neck of Jacob, right? And guess what? It's still on it today, because last time I checked, in December, they lynched a brother. What's his name? What's the brother's name? Oh, his name, I'm drawing a blank. Is it Sean? Anybody remember the brother's name that was lynched? They found his body parts all over the place.
I don't remember his name.
Hmm?
I don't remember his name, no.
Yeah.
No.
Anyway, brothers are still getting lynched out here. Sisters are still going missing. Children are still going missing in 2023, right? The George Floyd protest, they said, were the biggest protests America has ever seen since the civil rights. But guess what? When we push to get something called the George Floyd Police Act, I think it's called. I think I have it here. Let's see. George Floyd Justice Policing Act, right? When we pushed to get that passed, they said no. And it was a bipartisan, we're trying to get a bipartisan deal on it, which means we're trying to get both parties to agree to pass a law to prevent officers from basically just doing whatever they feel like when they're policing. And they said, hell no, right? But the minute they tried to pass the Asian hate bill, it took, I think it's 2 months. I have all the dates. We're gonna get into it later, probably in part 2. I think it took 2 months for that to pass. anti-Asian hate bill, right? But so-called Negroes can't get nothing passed to save our lives, man, right? Because Esau mindset is already to oppress the poor righteous man. You see that? And the widow and the gray head, right? Because to him, we are worthless. That's what God said, you know? Read on, brother, verse 66.
And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life.
Right.
In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even, and at evening thou shalt say, would God it were morning. For the fear of thine heart, wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see.
So stop right there. Come on, man. Is this happening to the Jewish man? You know?
They just got like 100 billion or something like that from Germany in reparations for the Holocaust.
This year?
Yeah, this year. Something billion. I don't know, maybe like 4 billion or 5. I don't remember how much billion it was. But this
Right.
year they just got Holocaust reparations from Germany.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, that man's life is not hanging in doubt before him, man. We know whose life is hanging in doubt before them. We know who's in fear day and night and have no assurance of their life, especially in the United States of America. Babylon the Great, right? We know in the morning our people wake up lamenting about the day, and they go to bed in the night lamenting about what's going to happen tomorrow. We know this is happening to our people, you know, right? And here's the kicker, verse 68.
Getting back to that, sorry, it was 1.4 billion to Holocaust survivors globally in 2024.
Okay, and
That's what it was.
There you
I'll
go.
bring
And
it up
let me add to that. Hold on, let me add to that. Since the federal government has committed $6.7 billion to support First Nations, Inuit, and Métis housing, including in self-government and modern treaty communities, $4 billion of which was announced in budget 2022. So the Native Americans just got 6.7 billion in support promised to them, and 4 billion they announced they're gonna give them in 2022. But these are Israelites, family. Now let's see how much they give us, right?
They give us crack pipes.
Government of Canada invests 1.5 million to support mental health of Black communities. Feds commit 10 million to help 200 Black families in GTA. So in total, that's 11.5 million, right? Where's your billions?
And look, all that money went to organizations.
All the money went to, yes, go ahead.
That they're talking about here, it went to Holocaust survivors. 1.4 billion to Holocaust survivors, not organizations.
Right, directly to them.
Directly to them. They get paychecks from this. They don't have to work because they get 1.4 billion split up between how, that's a monthly check coming to them.
I mean, yeah. Listen, family, the scriptures are clear, man. I mean, and when you look around in reality, it's clear. The Most High say a man will cleave to his like, and he tell you, every beast loveth his neighbor, right? And the animals cleave to their like, man. You know, are you cleaving to Native Americans and Mexicans? That's who most of your friends in your phone are. That really, it just doesn't hold up. Anyway, so yeah, 200 million fund for Black-led charities.
which these charities are run by Jews.
There you go. In fact, I have a testimony. I have a friend who worked, man, tirelessly in order to open a art center for and by Black people, and the Edomites took it from him. He had a board, he built a board and everything, right? And he was either on the board or the board chair, and they voted him out, right? Of his own organization, you know? Anyway, give me 68.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, and verse number 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen,
right.
And no man shall buy you.
Right. So slavery is a huge marker of the children of Israel, man. It is the marker. How do we know? Give me Daniel 9 and verse 12. Right? Of course, that Egypt is spiritual Egypt, which the Bible tells you exists in Revelation chapter 11 and verse 8. Right? Our dead bodies are gonna lie down in paraphrasing the place that is called spiritual. Let me just get it. Revelation 11:8, and the dead body shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified, right? And that's here, right? Babylon the Great, so-called North America, right? Our dead bodies gonna lie there. What dead bodies? Spiritually dead bodies, and that's according to Ezekiel 37, the valley of dry bones, all right? Because the preaching of the gospel is what woke up the dry bones in Ezekiel, and that's what woke up the dry bones in Revelation. It's about the same thing, and that's what's waking up the dry bones in reality as we speak right now on the Shabbat, right? So what do you have for me there, bro? Daniel 9?
Daniel 9 and verse number 12.
Yeah, go to 14.
Read to 14, okay. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 9 and verse number 12. And he hath confirmed his words, which he spake unto us, and against our judges, and judged us by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven hath not been done as hath been done upon Jerusalem.
Right.
As it is written in the law of Moses, all this evil is come upon us. Yet made we not our prayers before the Lord our God, that we might turn from our iniquities and understand thy truth.
So stop right there. The man said, no evil has been done on the earth like the evil that was done upon Jerusalem. Now, when you go to Luke 21, it tells you they shall be, let me go to it. Luke 21 and 24. It tells you we're going to be taken into all nations as slaves. The Most High say no greater evil than that has ever happened in the world. Right? Luke 21:24, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles fulfilled. The point here is that we shall be led away captive into all nations, right? And of course, it didn't all happen in one shot there, you understand? But the Most High's point is that captivity is the greatest evil that ever came upon any other nation. The captivity of Israel by Edom. You understand? Because that's who took Israel captive from Jerusalem. It's Edom, right? And that's who took Israel captive into America. It's Edom. That's who still have Israel under captivity and who the Most High have to save us from. It's Edom, you know? And it's funny because, I mean, you know what I'm saying is true because in verse 13, he said, as it is written in the law of Moses. And we literally just read in the law of Moses where he said, hey, you're going to go into Egypt again with ships, you know? So it all adds up, right? Read on.
Verse number 14. Therefore hath the Lord watched upon the evil and brought it upon us.
And
For
did
the
what?
Lord our God
And did what?
brought it upon us.
And brought it upon us. Go ahead.
For the Lord our God is righteous in all his works which he doeth.
Right.
For we obeyed not his voice.
Okay, so stop right there. That's it, right? So the Most High brought slavery upon you. The most atrocious thing to ever happen to any human being. God brought it upon you because you broke your covenant. You made a blood covenant with the Most High. Blood gets sprinkled on you. Blood gets sprinkled on the scriptures. Everything got sprinkled with blood, right? And you said, yes, we're going to do all these commandments. And you broke the commandment. So you have to pay with your blood. You understand? And God gave us chance after chance after chance, and we kept sinning against him. So we end up with Esau boot on our neck until Yahweh Shai come back. You know? And the worst boot is when he put the boot on your mind and you can't get it out. Right? And that's the destruction that our people are suffering from. And that's why we're celebrating Juneteenth. You know? And all this other foolishness instead of waking up and coming back to the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. You know, give me Jeremiah 2 and 14 real quick.
It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 2, and verse number 14.
Yeah, go until 17, please.
Yep. Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled?
Stop right there. The Most High have to ask, why you keep going into slavery, man? I tell you, choose life after I give you the commandments. But you guys keep choosing to go into bondage. Are you a servant? Are you a homeborn slave? The man said you're kings and priests and royalty, but you keep acting like slaves, man. And going into captivity. Till the Most I get frustrated after I say, why are you getting robbed? Are you a homeborn slave? Meaning, are you a generational slave, man? You know, read on.
The young lions roared upon him and yelled, and they made his land waste. His cities are burned without inhabitants. Also, the children of Noth and Tahapenes have broken the crown of thy head.
Right.
Hast thou not procured this unto thyself, in that thou hast forsaken the Lord thy God when he led thee by the way?
Right. So that's all I want on that. So again, the Most High said, hey, haven't you thought about why you're going through this? It's because you forsake me, man. You guys made a deal and you're not keeping your end of the bargain, right? That's why the children of North, which are Egyptians and Tapanese, have broken the crown of your head, man. Right? That's why Ham has destroyed you, man, and got you into their idol worship, and also sold you to the damn Edomites, right? Because you've left the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. And to prove that North is Egypt, that's Jeremiah 46:19. You can write that down. And that's Ezekiel 30 and verse 13. Okay, North is actually Memphis in Egypt, right? And then Tahpanhes is Daphne. Okay, and that you can that the proof for that is Jeremiah 43 verse 7 to 9 and Ezekiel 30 and verse 18. All right. So yeah, my question was, was this a cause to celebrate? Having Juneteenth 2 years after a half-assed proclamation that didn't actually free you. It wasn't a cause to celebrate. It just showed how much Esau's boot is upon your neck, as I say of the Lord, right? So let's go on a little bit.
we should remember this important date, June 19, 1865, represents the evolution of our country to a more perfect union. We were not perfect in 1528, 1619, 1776, 1865, or even the day in 2021, but we're moving, hopefully, to a more perfect union.
Juneteenth is directly related to the history of the Civil War and the emancipation of enslaved people in the Confederacy. Juneteenth is important for Texas because that is when enslaved Texans learned they were free and that the Confederacy had fallen.
So we're standing in the 2200 block of the Strand Historic District in Galveston. This was the heart of the commercial district, and at one time
Was the largest city in Texas.
the largest enslaver also lived here in Galveston. They owned 7 plantations, 4 in Brazoria County, 2 in Matagorda County, and 1 in Fort Bend.
Texas was this safe haven for slavery. They did what they call the running of the slaves. That was basically moving their slaves to Texas, because there was no Union presence in Texas.
When Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, he knew that that would not immediately end slavery, and it didn't. And the reason is fairly simple. The Confederate States of America had formed its own country. They elected their own president. Confederate states printed their own money, which is why the Confederacy and the United States went to war. The United States' goal at the beginning of the war was just to restore the Union. The first war goal was not to emancipate the enslaved population.
And there were all these myths and stories about what happened and why it took 2.5 years for the word to reach Texas. Plantation owners in Texas were well aware of the Emancipation Proclamation, but they ignored it.
Sorry, family. I just want to point out that even this, so-called scholar, knows that this proclamation was not made to free no slaves. It was made to save the Union. Again, it was just pulling the rug from under the Confederacy, their labor, right, which were the slaves. That was the point,
What they cared about was maintaining the agrarian economy in Texas, and that was solidly based on cotton. And to maintain that, they needed slave labor. General Gordon Granger was on his way to Texas. Most of the Texas authorities had a pretty good idea what he was coming to Texas to do. Granger was in Texas for about a month. He sent his troops.
There were white soldiers and black soldiers.
Plantation to plantation, making the announcement.
Those black soldiers are people who especially helped shift the Union war goals from a war to restore the Union into a war of emancipation. It was personal for them.
They went over to the...
So obviously that's a load of hokey. Then, the war never became about a war of emancipation. That's simply not true. If it were, we would be emancipated. But as you're going to see from the scriptures, we're still under slavery.
The old custom house on 20th Street to the courthouse square, from the courthouse square to the colored church on Broadway, which was Reedy Chapel.
Some of the dock workers were among the first to get the word, and so the celebrations began.
Give us a sense of what it must have been like for slaves on Juneteenth when they heard that message.
That was something that was almost like going to heaven.
The celebrations, just to be so excited to taste that freedom.
The initial celebrations, there would be prayer services looking back at our journey in this country and what we had to endure in bondage. And the people who never lived to see that day. I think it's inescapable not to remember those people. Transatlantic voyage, the Middle Passage, people jumping off ships to avoid the treatment that they would have to endure.
You know, and old Marshall didn't tell you, it was free.
He didn't tell you that?
No, he didn't tell you. I think now they said they wait them 6 months out of that. 6 months. And turn them loose on the 19th of June. That's why, you celebrate that day. Colors folks celebrate that day.
One of the quotes that I'm most fond of is from a former slave named Felix Haywood. Slavery could make you free, but it couldn't make you rich, because a lot of the slaves thought that now that they were free, they would be rich, just like the white man.
You think about the elation, the trepidation of enslaved people not knowing what their future holds and being enslaved and bondage being lifted from their backs.
And there was one narrative about one slave who got the word, and his sister said, brother gave a whoop and ran away, and I never saw him again.
Was the South ready to free slaves? No, we know that.
Even though the order indicated the enslaved were free, if you look at the last sentence, it gives some instruction.
All right, family, pay very close attention. This is the receipt I was talking about, where when they made the proclamation that we were free, the document itself is showing you you're not free. Watch this.
Instructions of what they can or cannot do.
The freedmen are advised to remain quietly at their present homes and work for wages. They are informed that they will not be allowed to collect at military posts and that they will not be supported in idleness either there or elsewhere.
When you're told you're free, you're thinking that, oh, I can live my life. But it wasn't like that.
On one hand,
the sister said, hey, you thought you could live your life, but it straight up wasn't like that, right? And I just want to point out that the same year, 1865, right, in June, while we're celebrating Juneteenth, learning that we're so-called free late, that same year, the 13th Amendment is passed, right? It's passed on January the 31st, and it's ratified, meaning made legally binding on December 6th, right? December 6th, 1865. And it stated that the Negro can no longer be enslaved except as a punishment for crime. I'm going to say that again. The 13th Amendment, which had already passed in January of the year of Juneteenth, said the Negro can no longer be enslaved except as a punishment for crime. And then they went ahead and put in laws to make you a criminal for not having a job, right? Right? For not having a place, right? After they freed you from the plantation. I pray you brothers and sisters see the setup, man. Because that's exactly what it is, a setup, I think I have the document here. There we go. So this is the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, 1865, right? Ratified December 6, 1865. So while we're celebrating, here's what is in the law, which Esau says this will be his strength. The law of justice will be his strength. Really, it's the law of injustice. He says, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude. Sorry, the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution provides that neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Okay? Brothers and sisters, this is still the law today. Today, this is still the law. This is still the 13th Amendment. This same thing here, saying you can't be a slave except for if you get arrested. Then you can be a slave. Right? Absolute madness. You know? Let's go on.
You were free by name, but the actual reality of freedom, you were not fully experiencing it.
There were a lot of very frightened former slaves, and a lot of them stayed on the plantation.
They laid the bricks in the downtown area here where we stand on many of these buildings. Not only laid the bricks, but made the bricks.
Just off Galveston's bustling Broadway Street is Ashton Villa, built in 1859 by James Monroe Brown, a loyalist to the Confederacy, dubbed an honorary colonel. Brown was also a wealthy banker, architect, and mason.
Sorry, family. So before they go into the next part of the video, I want to kind of expand upon with the scriptures the point that the brother said, where he said, hey, listen, you were told you were free, but really you were not free, right? I want to read an excerpt of this speech by Frederick Douglass, okay, which was actually given, in regard to the 4th of July. And it was given before this whole Juneteenth mess and the whole Emancipation Proclamation. But it holds, like, it's crazy that this thing holds weight then, and it still holds weight now, right? So Frederick Douglass said, what to the American slave is your 4th of July, which is independence for them, right? What to the American slave is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all other days in the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham. Your boasted liberty and unholy license. Your national greatness, swelling vanity. Your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless. Your denunciations of tyrants, brass-fronted impudence, your shouts of liberty and equality are hollow mockery. Your prayers and hymns, your sermons and thanksgivings, with all your religious parade and solemnity, are to him mere bombast, fraud, deception, impiety, and hypocrisy, a thin veil to cover up crimes which would disgrace a nation of savages. There is not a nation on the earth guilty of practices more shocking and bloody than are the people of these United States at this very hour, right? And the brother was on point, man. And he wrote this before this Emancipation Proclamation. And after this Emancipation Proclamation, these words were still true. And today, these words are still true, of the United Snakes, right? Of the West, period, right? Because it's the English send them these savages here anyway, and the Spanish, the so-called European Edomites, right? And the Most High put them all in the same damn boat, right? So anyway, how are we free here when Baruch 4:8-13 is true? Let's go there, bro.
Exactly where? Baruch what?
Baruch 4.
Yep.
Right? 8. Start at verse 8.
This is the book of Baruch, chapter 4, and verse number 8. Ye have forgotten the everlasting God, that brought you up, and ye have grieved Jerusalem that nursed you. For when she saw the wrath of God coming upon you, she said, Hearken, O ye that dwell about Zion. God hath brought upon me great mourning. For I saw the captivity of my sons and daughters, which the everlasting brought upon them.
Mm-hmm.
With joy did I nurse them, but sent them away with weeping and mourning.
Right.
Let no man rejoice over me, a widow, and forsaken of many, who for the sins of my children am left desolate, because they departed from the law of God. They knew not his statutes, nor walked in his ways, nor walked in the ways of his commandments, nor trod in the path of discipline in his righteousness.
Right. And give me verse 6.
Verse 6.
Yeah.
This is the book of Baruch, chapter 4, and verse number 6. You were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because you moved God to wrath. You were delivered unto the enemies.
Right. And the Most High keeps saying the same thing over and over and over again. Now, let's go to Baruch 3 and give me verse 8.
This is the book of Baruch, chapter 3, and verse number 8. Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us, for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payment according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our God.
Mm-hmm.
Continue.
Right. Sorry. So Baruch, who was in the Babylonian captivity, if I'm not mistaken, said, hey, listen, man, this day we're still in our captivity. And I can say to you, this day I'm still in my captivity, where I'm subject to payments. You know, I gotta pay life insurance, I gotta pay rent, I gotta pay car insurance. I got payments. You got payments, right? We're still in our captivity. You know, we're subject to these payments because our fathers forsook the Most High. You know, give me Deuteronomy, and let me show you how being subject to payments basically shows that you're still in captivity. You know, let's go to Deuteronomy 20, right? And uh give me verse 10 and to verse 12.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 20, and verse number 10. When thou comest nigh unto a city to fight against it, then proclaim peace upon it.
Right. So the
And it
Most
shall
High
be-
say, hold on. So the Most High say the first thing you need to do when you come to fight against a city, proclaim peace. Don't come in war. Tell them peace first. Right. And then what happened?
And it shall be, if it make the answer of peace and open unto thee, then it shall be that all the people that is found therein shall be tributaries unto thee, and they shall serve thee.
Hold on. So what does peace look like with Israel?
Having people as tributaries, they pay you tribute.
Yeah, which is
And serve you.
taxes.
Taxes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So peace with Israel means they are servants unto us, and they pay us tribute, right? Which is going to happen when Yahushua returns, right? And that's according to Isaiah 14, verse 2. It tells you we're going to take the people and they're going to be our slaves in the land, right? They're going to build our walls and do everything that needs to be done, and we will be ruling, and they will be the slaves, right? Um, I think, is that all I wanted? Did you give me 12?
And it will make no peace. and it will make no peace with thee.
If.
Oh, sorry. And if it will make no peace with thee, but will make war against thee, then thou shalt besiege it.
Right. Then thou shalt besiege it, and then he tells you slay all the males and so on and so forth. All right.
Yes.
Right. But peace with Israel is to have people under tribute. But you're under tribute. You got to pay your taxes. You got to pay these bills. You understand? So you're still in the land of, you're still under captivity. You're still in the land of captivity. Even though this was written, during the Babylonian captivity, the scriptures are twofold. There's many scriptures like that, right? Job 9, or is it Job 11 and 6 tells you that the meanings of the scriptures are double, right? I can never remember which exact scripture this is. Hold on.
That's right, Job 11:6.
Okay, there we go. Job 11:6. That he would show thee the secrets of wisdom, that they are double to that which is. All right, right. So again, my point being, how do we know we're in captivity? We're subject to payments, man. That's how we know. Give me Isaiah 31. And verse 1 to 3. Right? And the Most High keeps repeating that we're in this captivity because we're not keeping his commandments, man. Go ahead.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 31, and verse number 1. Woe to them that go down to Egypt for help, and stay on horses, and trust in chariots, because they are many, and in horsemen, because they are very strong. But they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek the Lord. Yet he also is wise, and will bring evil, and will not call back his words, but will arise against the house of the evildoers, and against the help of them that work iniquity. Now the Egyptians are men, and not God, and their horses flesh, and not spirit. When the Lord shall stretch out his hand, both he that helpeth shall fall, and he that is hoping shall fall down, and they all shall fail together.
Right. So the Most High is saying, listen, man, woe to you because you're going to spiritual Egypt for help, man. You're not coming to me for help. And he said, hey, listen, when I stretch out my hand, the one that say they're helping you, and you who are helped by them, both of y'all gonna fall. Right? Because you're not depending on the power. Right? You're depending on the damn pride, which is the so-called white man. And this is where our people have gone wrong. Right? They're depending on this demonocracy. They're depending on this law of justice to save them, which has no salvation in it. They're depending on Egypt instead of the Lord. Right? Let's continue the video.
Who designed what's believed to be Texas' first all-brick house, a palace with bricks all laid by slaves.
Anywhere you read, they will tell you that, slaves did all the work for this. They had to follow what the contractor was either telling them or showing them in order to do it. And look at this place. It's beautiful.
All of the intricacies and the detail that still stand today. It's amazing.
1859, one of the few buildings that withstood the 1900 storm.
Ashton Villa was saved from demolition in 1970. The historic home, now an event space, is operated by the Galveston Historical Foundation and home to the island's annual Juneteenth celebration.
They could leave the farm, they could leave the plantation, and they did, because so many emancipated people no longer wanted to work in agriculture because it reminded them of enslavement. For many people, the draw was labor, the opportunity to earn wages.
Working to pay off debt. The debts were never paid off. There were a lot of things that still kept the freed people
suppressed.
And that's why a group of them ended up in your hometown, in Houston. So they marched to Houston.
The Black population of Houston boomed. They began to build homes in the part of Houston known as 4th Ward. Houston was divided into 6 different wards at the time. And so the land in that area of 4th Ward happened to be very low and flood prone. It wasn't land that was coveted by white Houstonians at the time.
When you look at the bricks of Freedmanstown, that brick is a symbol of foundation. That brick was a symbol of hope. The brick was theirs. They made the brick, they formed the brick, shaped the brick, they laid the brick. They stood on the brick.
Iconic housing of Freedmanstown was the shotgun house. There was a door in the front and then a door in the back. And people would joke that if you shot a gun, the bullet would travel all the way through without hitting anything.
The legendary Jack Yates, this is the land where he lived, and right next door to him was his son, the printer Rutherford B.H. Yates. The first time I walked along these bricks, I was very emotional. This is where my people decided that they would survive. These are 8-pound bricks that were double baked. And the significance of these bricks is that it has that beautiful red color of the clay that was here. And the fact that they are still here today is a testament to their strength, a testament to their craftsmanship and their skill.
No, these are original. I reside here in Freedmanstown. I was born in Freedmanstown, probably conceived in Freedmanstown. And this is a home that has been passed down through our family. I'm like the 5th generation. And the family operated a ice business and just drove through the community selling blocks of ice.
They did their best to gain property and to support their communities.
The wards in Houston functioned a little bit like small towns. 3rd Ward develops a Black community. 5th Ward develops one early. The Black community of 3rd Ward begins to develop around what we today call Emancipation Avenue, but that back then was Dowling Street, which was actually the name of a Confederate. Dowling is really the center of old Black 3rd Ward. And one of the reasons for that is the creation or the purchase of Emancipation Park. And it's the first public space owned by Black people in the state of Texas.
With newfound freedom came new challenges, including the fight to be seen as equal.
Freed men and women did more than survive. They built a legacy.
And it is right here, Emancipation Park,
in Houston's historic 3rd Ward.
Emancipation Park was always a place
Notice the brother said when they came over to Houston, they began a new fight, and one of the fights was to be seen as equal, right? And this shows how destroyed our people are, because we know the Most High never called us to be equal with anybody, right? The Most High called us to be above the other nations, right? And that's Deuteronomy, 7 and verse 6. That's Deuteronomy 14 verse 2. So it just goes to show where their heads are at, right? That's it. Let's go.
to celebrate.
2 Black church congregations fundraised to buy the park. For them, the memory of Juneteenth would have been very fresh. They were someone else's property less than a decade earlier.
I'm the great-great-granddaughter of Jack Yates. He was instrumental in purchasing Emancipation Park, where the free slaves celebrated Juneteenth.
one of the most famous families in Reconstruction era Houston were the Yates family.
He was free. However, his wife and children weren't. So he came to Texas and entered back into slavery so that he could be with his family.
They were brought here to continue to be slaves.
Once freedom came again, he knew what that tasted like. He knew what that felt like. So he took his family and moved to Houston to start a brand new life.
Jack Yates actually began helping and teaching and helping them to learn, because at that time, slaves weren't supposed to read or write.
He was a wage laborer as his day job, and at night preached near the Buffalo Bayou in Houston. And then gradually they were able to build their own church.
I'm a member of Antioch Missionary Baptist Church and have been all of my life. That was the first church that he started, but there were many other churches that he started, including Bethel in Houston.
It is that spirit, it is that zeal, it is that determination that he and others poured into the foundations when they built this church. So when you talk about World War I, our soldiers went off to fight. When they came home, Antioch was able to train and cross-train ex-veterans in masonry work, in carpentry work, and really help these ex-soldiers to find jobs and to provide homes for their families, education for their children. It was these very women from this very church who taught other women how to vote.
So many great people have been here and have been inspiring and galvanizing the community.
When I was growing up.
All right, so let's comment on this section that we just saw here. So, Israelites, escape Texas, go to Houston, and start churches and buy parks. Okay, with these churches that they start, and then start helping our people through these church buildings to learn how to read and to get jobs, and then start many more churches. Now, I mean, the work of helping our people learn how to read and training our people in skills, good. Those are great works, right? But should we really be celebrating our brothers and sisters, going about starting churches and teaching Christianity, right? The answer is hell no, because they were doing a good work by, going and starting to build their own communities. But again, because they lack the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, they take one step forward and two steps back. You have a community, but then now you put up Satan's house in your community in order to destroy the minds of your people, right? And continue the legacy of mental slavery, and let's put this under the microscope, with the scriptures, right? So what do Israelites learn in church? To follow God? No, they learn to break the Most High's law, statutes, and commandments, right? The church teaches that the law is done away with, right? Whereas Messiah says, if you love me, keep my commandments, right? Let's go to John 14 and verse 15, Brother Chris. John 14 and verse 15.
John 14 and verse 17.
15.
15. John 14 and verse 15. If you love me, keep my commandments.
Simple. But does the church teach people to keep the Most High's commandments? No. Right? Matthew 7 and 23. Right? Right?
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 23. And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity.
Read from 22.
Verse number 22. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? And in thy name has cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonderful works? And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye workers, ye that work iniquity.
You see that? Christ said people are going to come and say, hey, I did many wonderful works in your name, but he will say, I never knew you. So do you think our brothers and sisters that started these churches knew the Most High? Right? Do you think he's going to say, well done, good and faithful servant? What, right? With them teaching Christianity, man? And them teaching our women to go vote, which is against the laws of the Most High God? He's going to say, I never knew you. Depart from me, you that work iniquity. Now, how do we know they work iniquity? 1 John 3 and 4.
This is the book
Right.
of 1 John chapter 3 and verse number 4. Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law.
So that's how we know they're working iniquity. They're teaching people to transgress the law of the Most High God, to break the Sabbath, worship on Sunday, they're teaching the women to dress anyhow, wear men's clothing. You understand? Now the churches are teaching that homosexuality it's all good. I mean, it's just pure lawlessness. They're teaching the people to eat pork and crustaceans. It's utter madness, and this is not new because from the beginning of the church, the goal has always been to do nothing like the Jews. As Emperor Constantine himself will tell you. So the church, teaches the law is done away with, but the Most High never teach that. The church teaches Messiah is a so-called white man. God is a so-called white man. And the scripts say that they're both Negroes. Give me Revelation 1. Right? The scriptures teach we're made in the Most High's image and likeness. Right? What is his image and likeness? Actually, go to Daniel 7 first. Daniel 7 and 9.
It's the book of Daniel chapter 7 verse number 9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool.
The hair of his head like the what?
The pure wool.
Right.
His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire.
Right. So the Ancient of Days have hair like pure wool. But I thought the Bible said God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship in spirit and truth. Yeah, that's true. But what we must realize is this, right? Watch this. Where is it? 1 Corinthians 15, right? Let me see, I'll go from 38. But God giveth, I'll just go from 39. All flesh is not the same flesh. What? All flesh is not the same flesh. There is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another of fish, and another of birds. So not even every carnal thing has the same skin. There are also what? Celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial. So there are spiritual bodies, heavenly bodies. That's why I said God sits on a throne. That's why he said you have the hair like the pure wool. That's why it says we made in his image and his likeness. So yes, he's a spirit, which means he has spiritual flesh, a celestial body, right? And then it says in verse 40, but the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. So the celestial body have certain power, abilities, resistances, right? Attributes, right? And things that make it amazing, right? And the glory of the terrestrial is another, right? The flesh body of man, have different things, abilities than the celestial body, you know. The celestial body cannot disobey God, right? The demons do everything God says. They don't have a choice. The angels do everything God says. They don't have a choice. Christ in his celestial body do everything the Most High. Nobody has no choice up there. But Israel is on this earth with the presentation to choose life, right? We have the opportunity to choose life or death because of our terrestrial body. The terrestrial body can disobey the Most High. The celestial body cannot. You know? Where were we? Daniel 7.
Yeah, Daniel 7.
Yeah, so they teach that the Most High is a so-called white man, while the scriptures teach that that's impossible, man. Even as scientists know that this is impossible. Look at this. Like, let me see. When was straight hair developed? This might turn up nothing, but no, this is not what I want. Okay, where did straight hair originate from? Maybe that's what I want. It is associated with the newly emerged alleles. Okay, this is what I want. Okay, so this is from Health Watch. Straight hair is associated with the newly emerged alleles in both the TCHH gene and ADAR gene. The distributions of these straight hair related alleles support the hypothesis that our human ancestors had curly hair. So even though they show you cavemen in movies and dinosaurs, right, and people with straight hair and white skin in early time, that's literally impossible. And their own scientists know this. You see what Esau does? He's a deceiver, man. The man just don't give you the truth. He always show you a magic trick. That's what he's doing all day, every day. Brainwashing. The facts are there, but he's going to show you the lie. Because nobody's going to go check the facts and they're just going to believe the lie. Or most people, I should say. Most people will not check the facts. They will just believe the lie. And he counts on that, right? But the Most High make him put the truth out there so that the truth can embarrass him every time he tries to go against it. You know? Anyway, give me so that's Daniel 7 and 9 showing the Most High have nappy hair, man. You know? You have the pure wool, you know, which is the hair of the so-called Negro. Daniel 10, verse 4 to 6. Right? Daniel 10. Right? So again, we're looking at whether churches are good. Churches are not good because they don't teach truth. You know? Another lie, here's the second lie they teach, man. that the Most High is a so-called white man, and so is the Messiah, right? Daniel 10, give me 4-6.
This is the book of Daniel, chapter 10, and verse number 4. And in the 24th day of the first month, as I was by the side of the great river, which is Hiddekel, then I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz.
Mm-hmm.
His body also was like beryl,
Mm-hmm.
and his face as the appearance of lightning,
right?
And his eyes as lamps of fire,
right?
And his arms and his feet like in color to polished brass,
Mm-hmm.
and the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude.
So that was talking about Yahweh Shai, and it says, hey, listen, man, the man arms and his feet are in color like polished brass. When we go to Revelation 1, it tells you it looked like brass burnt in the furnace. That's a brown-skinned man. It says his body was like the beryl, right? Let me see here. Yeah, his body is like the beryl. You see what I'm saying? His body is like the beryl, you know? What they were trying to describe is these brown stones. Dodge the hijack with all these other colors that you see here. How do we know? Well, you got to add the precepts together, right? Let's go to Revelation 3 and 4.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 3, and verse number 4. Thou hast a few names even in Sardis, which have not defiled.
Sorry, 4 and 3. 4 and 3.
4 and 3.
Yeah.
Revelation 4 and verse number 3. And he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone. And there was a rainbow round about the throne in sight like unto an emerald.
All right. So all right. Jasper, right? That's what he looked like. That's what his skin looked like, they tell you. You guys see that? Everyone able to see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? So dodge the hijacks, man. Every chance they get to give you a sideways thing, they will. Right? But when you search these scriptures, you see what the heck is going on. Right? The one who sat on the throne, this is what he looked like. You know? This is what his spiritual flesh looked like. Like the Hebrews, like ours. And he have his pure wool. You know? And then white. White like snow. Come on, man. You know? And the man dark skin too, I tell you. Yahweh Shai. You know? I don't know, man. So yeah, that's what the Bible teach. But Christianity teach the man look like Zeus. When this whole concept of Zeus was stolen from the scriptures and the description of the Most High God. You know, it tell you in the Bible, the Most High God casts lightnings. So the Greeks take that and they make Zeus cast lightning. The Greeks are thieves, okay? They took over the land of Japheth and they started using all Japheth mythology in theirs. Their god Janus comes from Japheth. You know, their idea of the Titans were actually Japhite warriors that nobody could defeat. They were called Titans when you look at the history. The Greek takes that and says, yes, these Titans, you know, they were here before time and they were 1,000 feet tall, and just make up a story. You know? Man, these people just annoy the hell out of me, man. I can't wait till the Most High obliterate them so the world can live back in peace and truth, man. You know? Getting mad, man. Anyway, so what else do churches do? They teach our people to unite with everyone and worship the so-called white man. While God says that the so-called white man is the devil, Satan, he called him the people of Satan, and then he commands Israel to separate from other people. So the church just teaches everything opposite from what the Most High actually teaches. So it cannot be a good thing that we set up churches in our community and spread them about, because we have a million churches in Israel right now, right? And only few disciples, real followers of the Most High God, Israelites that know who they are, even though we've had million churches in our communities. You know, sometimes you go in a block and there's like 5 churches. When I went to New York, it was stupid in Brooklyn. Church here, church, like sometimes church right beside each other. But yet no change in the place, you know? So let's prove what I just said, right? The Most High teaches the so-called white man is the spawn of Satan, for lack of a better word. But that's his people, right? The same way we work for God, the Edomite works for Satan. The same way we are God's people, his chosen people, the Edomites are Satan's chosen people. And let's prove that. Daniel 9:26. You there, Brother Chris?
I was reading it. I had it on mute. Daniel 9 and verse number 26.
Right.
And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off.
Right.
But not for himself, and the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. And the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined.
Right. So can you break that down, Brother Chris?
You break it down how you want everybody to go ahead, do it.
Well, I know you know what it says, but it's okay. I'll break it down. Right. So it says after 62 weeks, Messiah will be cut off, meaning what? Messiah will be killed. Right. But not for himself. Why? Because he said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And I think that's Matthew 15:24, if I'm not mistaken. Right. So he died for Israel. Right. And it says, after he dies, the people of the prince gonna come and destroy the city, which is Jerusalem, and the sanctuary, which is the temple. That happened in history. When? In 70 CE, right? When was the temple of Jerusalem destroyed? Right? 70 AD, Anno Domini, or CE, same thing, okay? The second temple, later known as Herod's temple, was the reconstructed temple in Jerusalem between 516 BC and 70 CE. It replaced Solomon's temple, which is presumed to have been built at the same location before its destruction by the Neo-Babylonian Empire, right? During the Babylonian siege of Jerusalem. Now watch this. The Babylonian siege of Jerusalem. I want to, where is it? Destruction. There we go, destruction. In 66, no, don't want that. 30, Roman legions under Titus retook and destroyed much of Jerusalem and the Second Temple. So who destroyed the place? Roman legions. When did they destroy it? When did they destroy it? The 30th of August, the year 70. Okay, when we go in our Bible says, the people of the prince shall destroy the city, Jerusalem, and the sanctuary, the temple. And the end thereof shall be with what? A flood. What is a flood? A flood is a metaphor for war. To the end, unto the end of the war, desolations are determined, which is why in Luke 21, verse 24, Christ says, when you see Jerusalem compassed with armies, everybody need to run, or they're going to take you into slavery, which we looked at that scripture earlier. So that's what's going on here. So how does this relate to the so-called white man being Satan's people? Right here in Daniel 9 verse 26, it calls him the people of the prince. Now, would it be the people of the Prince of Light destroying the temple of God, or would it be the people of the Prince of Darkness destroying the temple of God? Brothers and sisters, just throw out the answers. It's okay. I want to hear what people are thinking. Would the Prince of Light or the people of the Prince of Light be destroying the temple, or would the people of the Prince of Darkness be destroying the temple? Darkness. And God calls the Romans the people of the Prince of Darkness. He called them that. Right? And when you do your history, the Romans come from the Greeks. And watch this. Let me prove it to you through scriptures, because the Most High tells you the Greek will be ruling the world when Christ comes back. And he's going to gather everyone in the world to come and fight Christ. This is Daniel chapter 8. Let me see. From verse 21, it says, the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. Now that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation. So 4 kingdoms would stand up out of Greece. Rome is one of those kingdoms, but not in his power. In the latter time of their kingdom, whose kingdom? The Greek kingdom. When the transgressors are come to the full, yeah? When they start trying to turn your kids into trannies, okay? A king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. His power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He shall destroy wonderfully, prosper, practice, and destroy the mighty and holy people. Who destroyed the mighty and holy people? The so-called white man did. That's why we're reading about it in Juneteenth right now. And through his what? Policy, right? Through his law of justice, he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, which is in his mind, and by peace shall destroy many. What else is he going to do? He shall also stand up against the Prince of Princes. Who is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords and the Prince of Princes? That's Yahweh Shai. He shall also stand up against the Prince of Princes, but shall be broken without hand. God said the Greek was going to do that. But he said the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. When you ask somebody today who's ruling the world, they're not going to say it's a Greek. They're going to tell you, well, you know, so-called white man runs the world, the Jewish run the world. The Most High tells you these people are Edomites, the people of the Prince of Darkness. They're all Greeks. He calls the ones in the latter time Greeks, because that's where they come from, the so-called Greeks, who are actually Edomites. Right? So I hope that's clear for people. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If it's not the so-called white man, if not, where and who is he? If the wicked man is not the so-called white man, when you look at his deeds on the planet, who is it then? And where is he? Thus saith Yahweh. You know? That's one piece of evidence. Daniel 9:26, right? Tell you the people of the prince of darkness would destroy the temple. Leviticus 20 and verse 24, Brother Chris. Right? And again, this is to show you the church teaches the complete opposite of what the Bible teaches. Right? Leviticus
20 and verse 24.
20 verse 24.
What I have said unto you, you shall inherit their land, and I will give it unto you to possess it, a land that floweth with milk and honey. I am the Lord your God, which have separated you from other people.
God said unify with everyone.
Separated you from other people.
God said we're all one.
Separated you.
He separated you from other people, right? And let's go to 1 Maccabees 1. So this business of unity of all people is actually a satanic doctrine. Sounds real nice, like everything else Esau does. Sounds like a great idea, but it's actually evil. You know? The man is a master magician, you know, using mind control to destroy souls. You know, that's who this guy is. That's what he does, right? That's why it's so difficult for people to break out. They have to be searching for truth, because if not, they're just in a party sleeping. They're in a dream. They're in the American dream. They're in the European dream. They're in the Canadian dream. They're dreaming that one day they'll be a CEO and drive a Lamborghini and be able to fly a private jet and not have to work. You must be kidding me, man. Do you guys really want to see Elon Musk schedule? You know, Bill Gates, you guys want to see these guys schedule? You know, rich, the Most High says riches that are gained by crookery are not good. Yeah, and I'm paraphrasing greatly. You know. Anyway, 1 Maccabees 1. Read verse 1, please.
The book of 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 1. And it happened after that, Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece.
Right, so the Most High is telling you here, Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who is Alexander the Great, was the first king over Greece. What happened after he died? Go to verse 9.
Verse number 9. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied in the earth.
Right? So after Alexander the Great died, his generals all put crowns upon themselves, and evil began to multiply, not add, multiply on earth. Okay? When these guys all became kings. I mean, by this time, it should be plain to you what's going on here. Remember, these are Greeks. God said evil was multiplied when they all put crowns on their head. Let's go down to 41. Give me 41 to 49, I believe. Yeah, 41 to 49. Go ahead.
Verse number 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom
that all should be one people.
What did he write?
That all should be one people.
Have you heard this anywhere before? All should be one people. We have room for everyone. Everyone come. This is for everyone. Everyone, everyone, everyone. But the beneficiary is Esau. He telling all of y'all come so you can be in bondage to him and pay tribute to his coffers so he can rise and you can fall. Generation after generation after generation. It's a trick. That all should be one people. Now watch the conditions. 42.
Verse number 42. And everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king.
So you hear the condition? For you to be a Babylonian, an Egyptian, a damn Edomite, a Greek, all of y'all gotta leave your laws. But what if the laws you have are the laws of God? You have to leave your laws. So what result is that gonna be for you? Slavery. That's the result of that for you, Israel. Watch what happened in 43.
Verse number 43. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath.
Sound familiar? Go ahead.
For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land.
The strange laws of the land, go ahead.
And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple.
Right.
And that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days.
And that's what Esau teaches you to do. Buy on the Sabbath. Don't keep any of the Lord's feasts, but keep Easter and Christmas and all the wicked feasts that God said don't keep in Jeremiah 17:4. Go ahead.
Verse 46, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people. Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts.
Right.
That they should also leave their children uncircumcised,
right,
and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanliness and profanation.
Yeah, so hold on. So this goes into when you leave your children uncircumcised, we know the circumcision is not of the flesh, but of the heart, which means the mind. So Esau wants control of your child's mind. To do what? Make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanliness. To teach them that this transsexual, homosexual, like just nastiness is okay. In fact, they're brave for being that way. That's what Esau want to teach your children, man. Right? To make their souls abominable, man. And verse 49 is the kicker.
49. To the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances.
You hear that? The man wants you to forget the law, man, of the Most High. And remember, transgression of the law is sin. So if you forget the law, you're a sinner. That's why in the Christian church, every Christian will tell you they are sinners. I'm a sinner. I'm just trying to make it. Guess what? Sinners not gonna make it. God hates sinners. You have to be a saint. You gotta stop sinning. That's the point. You know, Yahushua said, if you keep sinning after you receive the word of truth, you're putting the Most High to open shame, and you're crucifying him again. So what is the church really teaching, man? Establishing churches cannot be good because they're not teaching the laws, statutes, and commandments of God. They're teaching the laws, statutes, and commandments of Satan. That's what they're teaching on a spiritual level. So even though these brothers and sisters were doing a good thing by having their own community and building up, they made a huge mistake by establishing churches in these places and spreading those churches all about. because they were destroying their people by doing that, not building them up. That's my point, you know? I want to address the fact that they went and taught the women to vote, right? And then I think we'll wrap for today because I don't want the lesson to be too long, and we'll do part 2 next week. Yeah, we'll open for questions if people have questions, and then we'll wrap for today and then continue next week, Lord willing. Go to Deuteronomy 17 and verse 15, because the sister said they thought no, I think the brother said, I don't remember who said it, but they said that he taught the women to vote, and he celebrated it like it was a good thing, right? Deuteronomy 17 and verse 15.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 17 and verse number 15. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother.
Do you see that? So there's a couple of things going on here. It says, set a person king over you who Yahweh chooses, right? And they have to be from among your brethren, right? Now, in this voting system, you're going to learn in the documentary that they started voting Israelites into office. But you'll also learn that the Most High started punishing them for doing that, right? We'll learn all about that next week, Lord willing. But the point is this. Which prophet came and told these Israelites in America, hey, listen, man, the Most High said, this is the person that you're going to choose to rule over you, and you listen to that guy, right? That didn't happen, right? They went and trusted in the ways of the Egyptians, the Greeks, in order to deliver them from destruction. And guess what? It brought more destruction upon them. They put the sisters in danger by teaching them how to vote. You understand? Because what you're going to learn in the documentary is that the KKK started lynching people, beating people up, taking people away, shooting people for them going to the polls to vote, man. And you have our sisters going to these places, right? To put in a vote in a system that was designed to destroy them, right? They shouldn't have been doing that. 2nd Ezra 16, right? 2nd Ezra 16.
Verse?
69. So this shows you when you consent unto the ways of the heathen, you don't get no benefit from it. You get a boot on your neck. Go ahead.
2nd chapter 16, verse number 69. And they that consent
say the scripture again. I didn't catch it.
2nd Ezra 16 and verse 69.
Right.
And they that consent unto them shall be had in derision.
Right.
And in reproach.
Right.
And trodden underfoot.
And trodden underfoot. Right. So whoever consent unto the Greeks, this is what's going to happen to you. Right. You're going to be had in derision. Right. Let's look that up. Derision. Derision. Contempt, ridicule, mockery. They're gonna make a mockery of you, which they have with this Juneteenth business, right? They're gonna show contempt towards you, which they did. Why are you coming in why are you trying to be part of our thing? We don't want you here, man. In fact, you niggas go through the back. Don't come in our restaurants. We don't want you around us. But yet we're there begging when God said it's better to die than to beg. You know? And why are we begging? Because our minds are destroyed, because we have left the commandments of the Most High God. Right? So he said they're going to have you in derision, right? And they're going to tread you underfoot. And that's exactly what has happened. And as we continue to celebrate these so-called holidays like Juneteenth, all we're doing is we're setting up our people to continuously get trodden under the foot of the so-called white man, you know? So with that, I'm gonna wrap for today. Hopefully, we can continue the lesson next week, because I don't want this to go too long. Any brothers and sisters have questions or comments, anything like that they want to bring out?
It was amazing.
All praises. All praises. All right.
Yes, insightful.
All praises, all praises, all praises to the Most High, man. Hey, listen, you guys encourage me, man, and I thank you guys so much for keeping, the Shabbat, at least part of the Shabbat with me. And I pray that the Most High continue to bless you guys, and I pray you guys have a wonderful Shabbat. Don't forget, this is not a day of sadness. It's a day to celebrate, eat, drink, have a good time, and, keep it holy. Yeah?
Yes, absolutely.
All
All
praises.
praises, all praises. Thank you for the lesson. It was very insightful. I enjoyed it.
No problem. Anytime, you guys. So hopefully I see you guys next week, and you guys enjoy the Shabbat, okay?
Okay, you too, and the same to your family.
Will do. Shalom.
Happy Sabbath. Shalom.
Shalom.